Welcome to another edition of the Litigation Psychology Podcast, brought to you by Courtroom Sciences. Coming at you in the dog days of summer. Dr. Bill Kanasky, Dr. Steve Wood. Dr. Wood, how are you?
I am good. And I am also in agreement with you that it's very hot in
What is
Texas.
that? So you're in College Station. We're mid 90s and humidity through the roof here in Orlando. How horrendous is it by you?
It's about the same. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
very hot.
horrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible. But here's the thing, and we can talk in February. You don't have to shovel it, Steve.
Yeah.
You don't have to shovel it.
As someone who was born and raised in the Midwest, I will take the heat any day over the snow and having to shovel.
I'll take it. And with my haircut, humidity, oh,
Yeah.
I am just fine with that. This is one of our favorite segments that we do pretty routinely. Viewer slash listener mail. We got some really good ones.
Yeah.
A lot of trial questions. A lot of trial questions. However, before that, a couple different updates. And rants. Geez, where should I start? A lot of people are asking me about my son Dean and his ACL rehab. You just saw him recently, going strong, going strong. He is being an idiot here and there. We went to the beach and he's in the water, and I'm like, listen, dude, you can go knee deep, but let's not be getting. And I turn my back and he's like bouncing in waves. Mom's yelling at him. I'm yelling at him. I'm just hopping on my good leg, hopping over waves. After everything we just been through,
Yeah.
hopping over waves with one foot. Oh, I'm not using my bad knee. I'm going, here we can you imagine that. Me in the ER because he's
No, you don't
body surfing. I
you
mean,
don't need
it's
that.
like, so it's one of those. I know he's young and he's doing well in physical therapy, but I think I may rat him out. Honey, should we rat him out to the physical therapist? Yeah. So my wife and I we're ratting him out. When does he go back? Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday morning he's getting ratted out, and I'm gonna let the physical, because we yell at him and he just rolls his eyes. Rolls his eyes. I know what I'm doing. Okay, well, so we're gonna rat him out at physical therapy. That's one update. Number two, which I brought on the last podcast, you were not on. I did a solo. My dog days of air conditioning goes out upstairs.
Yeah.
Just got it back on. I think it's gonna snow in my house. It was how long, Kim? How long was it? 8 days? 7 days? 6 days. It felt like eight. It felt like a month of 85 degrees upstairs, right here in the podcast studio. Every fan we had in the house, all upstairs. Air conditioning's fixed, but it took 6 days because they had to order a part. I tell you, I got to tell you, Steve. There's many things in this industry that can challenge your mental health. I'm not really sure. I was challenged mentally with 6 days of no air conditioning
I
upstairs.
can imagine. Yeah.
I just wanted to go on a shooting rampage. It was I was really it was has this happened to you in the summer in Texas?
It happened one time that I can think of, and we had to call like an emergency
Yeah.
24-hour person to come because we were not going to deal with it.
Yeah, I got my checkbook out. I'm like, I don't care what it costs. Just
Right.
just
Get it
effing
done.
fix it. Oh, there we go. And then finally, so let me tell you this other rant. So speaking of the beach trip, so we live about 40 minutes from the beach, and so my son Dean and I are driving out to the beach. This is the drive before he starts body surfing, and we're on I-4, and we're talking, yeah, trying to talk to a 17-year-old is like, pfft, right? Like almost a complete waste of time. But hey, I'm dead. I'm trying, and I'm talking about like one of the group texts. Oh yeah, I talked to Steve, in the group chat, and he looks at me. I shit you not. He looks at me and he goes, "You do group chats?" I go, "Yeah, I got like 7 of them between work, friends, family, my cousin. I mean, of course I do. Yeah, I do group chats." He looks right at me and he says, "I wasn't aware that someone in your generation was capable of that."
Wow.
Whoa, 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 whoa. The disrespect.
It's funny how our kids think that we were born in like the 1950s and that
Yeah,
TV was black and white when we were kids.
it's just unbelievable. He's serious. He was like making fun of me. He's like, wow, boy, some of your generation, that's pretty impressive. I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. Oh,
I'd like to
wow.
think we're pretty tech savvy, which we will get to today on the questions too.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the questions, but let's get an update. You came right here locally a
I
couple
did.
weeks ago. Tell the audience about your son's performance with the baseball team and the ultimate outcome there. That was a pretty good trip for you.
Yeah, they did. They did really well. They lost a few tough games they went to a tournament that was an invite only with the top teams in the country.
They
And
were good. I went. They were
yeah,
good.
yeah, they lost a couple close ones, but then ended up basically in the bracket. They ended up running the bracket and winning the championship. So they did really well. And then of course, Luke was in a hitting slump for a little bit, but then in one game hit 2 home runs.
Two
So that you
dingers.
were not there at.
Of course, yeah. Because when I went there, he couldn't find the strike zone.
Yeah, yeah,
The umpire was like, I was like, come on, that called third strike. Remember, I was like, really?
yeah,
It was clearly a called strike three, and they go, no, ball. I'm going, here we go.
yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
it
neither
is what it
neither
is.
of us got ejected. That was nice.
That was good. Yeah. Well, like you said, you got to see how I sit in the outfield just to avoid any sort of
It's
a
very
potential.
smart because listen, if you want to see crazy people, I always say, if you want to see crazy people, just two places, right? Number one, go to the airport. You're just gonna be surrounded by crazy people. But then number two, any youth sports
Oh yeah,
event with the parents, yeah, you were like 50 yards away from any other parent.
yeah,
Smart, smart, smart. But you could hear them. It's like the cackling. It was just awful.
that was bad. But no, it
Brother,
was good. I'm glad you guys came. Dean came.
yeah,
Billy came. Billy
Billy
came to
came.
every game. Every game. He was there at the championship game.
Yeah. So yeah, once your kid like goes pro, I expected to be the whole family invited to like draft party and you know
We will see when that
tickets
gets there.
tickets
Yep.
to games, things like that. All right, you ready for some viewer listener mail questions?
I'm ready.
These are pretty damn good. By the way, some of these questions are pretty damn tough that we don't necessarily have answers for right now. Let's start with the first one. Okay, in voir dire, should defense counsel ask jurors about their AI use and habits? What could that possibly tell me? I think it's a really interesting question because more and more people are using AI. Some people, like my wife, avoids it no, she uses it through me. She said, hey, ask your friend this. Right, hon? Yeah, like, right. She doesn't use it directly. She uses it through me, right? But yeah, I use it a lot. And some people use it in different ways. I think this is very interesting and how telling could that be? I've noticed online, particularly if you're on X and you use Grok, and I've heard a lot of people, I've done this too. A lot of people use it for like fact checking. Like you get a
Yeah.
story and you copy the link and you feed it in the chat and they're like, okay, is this story bullshit or is this real? Like, well, and it'll kind of tell you, right? And so, what does that say about me? Maybe I'm a natural skeptic, right? Well, how would that influence? What are your thoughts? Because I do think this may be a very telling question, particularly into the future, that defense counsel may want to tap into. What are your thoughts?
I think this was a great question that I hadn't even really thought about until we kind of heard it, and then it is very interesting, and I think it
Yeah,
goes to your point was the idea of what you're using it for, right? Or are you using it, and then what are you using it for? And
yeah,
going to your point, if you're using it, are you using it for more of like art stuff? Because when I passed them along, we did the baby
yeah.
one where we made
That was
ourselves
hilarious, by
babies.
the way.
I've done other ones too where I've used it to, sync voices and stuff like that. But then there's the other side that uses it for information gathering. So I think what I would see is the person who's using it for more for the entertainment purposes, more for the art purposes, is probably going to see it differently. They're going to be a little bit more into the arts. They're going to be a little bit more, artistic in their thoughts process, aka a little bit more pro plaintiff versus the one who's using it for the fact gathering. That's probably going
Yeah.
to be a little bit more skeptical.
Now, I'm going to blow you away with something here. You ready for this? I bet this has already happened. I just came up with this right now. Now, jurors are all instructed. Don't go online and do research. Don't Google anything about this case. What if a juror just goes home, gets on ChatGPT, and says, "Hey, I'm a juror. I just listened to opening statements today. They don't put in proper names. This is what the case is about." And they start talking to AI. I mean, there's no rule against that, is there? I mean, imagine that. And
That
then
would be,
AI starts contaminating this juror or maybe giving them different perspectives. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't even thought about that until you said it. But
I
yeah,
just thought of it.
yeah, I could see that. And even though you get admonished to not go home and using these sort of social media and internet research, I mean, I would
It's
assume
not
Chat
internet
GPT.
research.
I know that's what I was gonna say. Chat GPT, does that fall into that category of internet research or not?
Wow. Scary
Yeah.
stuff, right? I mean, there's bigger questions here, right? As far as, do judges start changing their instructions to include that? I don't know. But I do think it'd be interesting to start just open-ended questions, asking how they use it, why they use it. Because I do think that would, well, number one, you're just going to learn more about your jurors,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, if you got someone that's like a chronic fact checker using it, I think that's very telling versus, somebody that uses like, I mean, I use it a lot. I mean, for like exercise and health purposes, and God, it's amazing. It's like my own little personal trainer, right? Well, does that have any impact on jury decision making? Yeah, probably not. But how
Let
other
me ask
people use it, yeah. I mean,
Let me ask though, Bill, like, are you using it though when you get it? I think this is another kind of bucket of people's use of AI. Are you using it and just taking what you get as information and using it as gospel? Or are you kind of using it as your thought process rather than you thinking yourself? You're kind of using it to make decisions for you because that's a little bit different too.
yeah, it's definitely I find it very useful because, like, for example, like, back in the old day, it's like, hey, my my TV's not working, right? I can't figure this out. So I go to YouTube and I put in my TV, and then you have all these. It take all this time to no, and I'd find like some fix. So I use it a lot to like fix problems. Whereas I think some people maybe using it more for philosophical reasons, right? Or
Right.
yeah, it's so wide open. I think the answer right now is we really don't know. I think it'd be good to ask about. And then secondarily to this, um, I looked this up. Now, back in the day with voir dire, particularly as supplemental juror questionnaires, we would always ask, like, where do you get your news from?
Right.
Right? Which newspapers do you read? Stuff like that. Now, are you ready for this? This is 2000. This is like from Reuters and all these other polling agencies. In 2025, 54% of the general public is saying that they use social media sources for their primary news source often, and 33% essentially say like that's their primary source. And a lot of these folks are, under 35 years old. And so that's kind of another thing where, from a voir dire standpoint, is there, you know, are we missing something here? Because, the back in the day, again, okay, what news, are you a New York Times person? Or are you this? Are you that? Or whatever? And then, are you Fox, MSNBC, CNN? Now, do we need to ask, like, what social media, between, I mean, there are news stations which aren't news. There's these influencers that have made themselves into news people, right? Independent news. In fact, they have White House seats during the press conferences specifically for independent news people. And I think a lot of people are going to them because they're sick and tired of mainstream media. And what is that? And what does that say? Should we be collecting that data? I think that's another kind of Pandora's box right there. Between that and AI, I don't think anybody's really asking jurors about this stuff. I think AI and use of social media for news purposes, I think maybe we should start asking about that. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree because you and I both know, and you have social media, you get essentially into an algorithm, and before you know it, it's showing you
Yeah.
kind of the information that you want to see. Before you know it, you're kind of in an echo chamber of sorts, where if you've been clicking on certain links that have certain bents, whether it's left leaning, right leaning, and then
Yeah.
all what happens then your feed populates with the left leaning or the right leaning. And now that's where you're getting all your information. So I
Yeah.
do think it's important to look into that.
Yeah, and kind of why they're doing that. Because I mean,
Yeah.
they could have a lot of distrust issues, right?
Right.
Things like that. So I think that's important. There's no data on this. Um, we could start collecting data on that.
Might need to.
Yeah, let's talk about that because we could test the predictive validity of that. It'd probably take a year to figure that out and collect enough data. But yeah, let's put that on our to-do list, right?
Got it.
All right. Very interesting question. Question number two. This happened 2 weeks ago. I was like, here we go. Dear Bill, the judge gave both sides in jury selection 3 to 5 questions max. So kind of now it's a state court, but it's kind of being handled like federal court, all right? If I only have 3 questions, what do I ask? Boy, if you get that question, Steve, that's pretty tough because it's like you got to bake a cake and the recipe calls for 12 ingredients, but you can only put 3 in. What are you going to do? I have some thoughts, but I'd like your thoughts on this.
I think it's going to be obviously case dependent, but I think you're going to want to stay away. And I know you will have some thoughts as far as whether or not you indoctrinate versus identify jurors. But I think for me, from our perspectives, at least from the type of work that we do, I think one of the first things I'd be looking at is kind of this whole idea of safetyism. Would be one of the first questions I'm looking at. The idea of should corporations do what's required or should they go above and beyond?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we identify a lot of pro plaintiff jurors that have unrealistic expectations of corporations by saying, oh no, the federal regulations are just the bare minimum. You need to go above. You have the resources to do it. You're a multi-million-dollar company. You don't get to say we just did what was required. So that's one of them, I think.
Yeah, and we've worked on enough cases where like FDA approval or the FAA, no one gives a shit, right?
Yeah.
I think one of those questions absolutely has to be damages related.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And potentially, depending upon what the rules are, some of those anchoring, counter-anchoring questions, exposing that whole process, I think would be a strong candidate there, right? Or just how people feel about damages overall. I don't think you can skip that. Hell, that may be 2 of the 3, depending on your case, right?
Yeah. And I think another one I would think of is kind of the processing style. Are you more of a logical, rational thinker, or are you more who kind of thinks with your gut? You kind of get that a sense for where are they coming from on emotionality versus logical.
Yeah, that's another. The problem is like you only have 3 questions. It's like, geez, good God, right? Where you're gonna get most bang for your buck. My personal favorite as of late, and I've had many audience members contact me. So apparently that 4-part, I called it the disruptive voir dire series. That went over really well. Everybody's using those questions and going, wow, these really work. A lot of people are saying they love the pre-commitment questions to get people to publicly commit to not being emotional when they're making their decisions. And then the follow-up is now, not only do you commit to keeping your fellow jurors in line during the so if you see somebody getting emotional and making emotional decisions that do not follow the law, do you promise to reel them in? Now, a couple of attorneys have emailed me, and I had a Zoom call with one yesterday. They've actually agreed to come on the podcast in a couple of weeks. This could be very interesting for a case breakdown. They said they used those recently, and it worked like a charm. And you just like say plaintiff attorney is like panicking, going, what the hell is what? Like, because remember, all these new voir dire questions that we came up with, a lot of these no one's ever heard of before. Because again, that's called disruptive voir dire. We invented these questions using strict psychological approaches because we know that the typical voir dire questions we see pretty much suck. They've been recycled year after year, and they don't really give you the information you actually need. So we've become very surgical with this. I think those pre-commitment questions would be up there. So if you get stuck in a bind, or if you're going to federal court, right, it's like, give us a call. We can help you out. A similar question, I have a case where it's judge conducted voir dire. Boy, if that doesn't
Yeah.
scare you to death. By the way, who asks the worst voir dire questions in the world? Judges.
Can you be fair
Judge,
and impartial?
can you be
Good.
fair?
Yep.
And good. Juror number one, you're good. It's like, no. But we can submit questions. Any tips on submitting these questions more effectively? So I've been in several instances where the judge is like, okay, plaintiff, you send me the 10 questions you want to ask. Defense, you send me your 10, that'll be 20. And then I'll pick the 8 to 10 that I think are most appropriate. And I've been involved in cases where the judge picks 7 of ours and 3 of theirs. So there is a way to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think one of the big things that I'm always cognizant of, and you and I have had conversations before about some judges kind of thinking what our role is in cases, and sometimes it's to taint the jury pool or to really skew the jury pool, which we know is not the truth.
No.
But I think, though, to help with that when you're asking questions, to ask them kind of in a neutral, more clear format where you ask questions that are open-ended that kind of help you elicit both sides versus being really tailored to like self-serving questions that you want to ask. Now, you can use those for your strike decisions and cause challenges, but write them in such a way, though, that they're more open-ended and allows for both sides to have a thought.
Yeah. Another thing that I have done, which has worked very, very well, it's very subtle, but so you submit your list of questions, have a bullet point underneath each question with a very brief rationale for why the question is important to the court.
I like it.
Right? So plaintiff submits their 10 questions. This is 10 questions. You submit your 10 questions with bullet points going, hey, Your Honor, this is why this is important. Massive advantage right there. Right now, you don't want to put a paragraph after, but just a bullet point with a one sentence or kind of rationale of here's why this is important. I think that's a good idea too. But boy, I would do some research on your judge and how they ask questions and stuff like that. But yeah, what I've seen from judges, and then judges start rehabilitating bad jurors. Oh, it's just a nightmare. So
I do like that explanation, though, because how many times have you heard where a judge doesn't quite understand why
they don't get it?
being asked? Right.
Yeah.
And then they think one thing, but your actual intention is completely different. So I do like that idea.
Exactly. So there's a good idea. Okay, we're through half of these, making progress. Number 4. This is very important. I go over this in the speech I give on this topic. How do I anchor an opening if plaintiff doesn't give a specific number, but they describe that they want a large amount from the jurors? Do I still give a number? We had a recent case. We won't say where it's at or who is involved, where I think this was misplayed. So what happened in that case, which did not end well, is plaintiff came out and an opening said, hey, in my closing argument, I'm going to ask you for a significant amount of money. And they described the large, they did not give a number. And the defense attorney came out and counter anchored with the number, but there's no other, right? So there's kind of a miss. I'm a big fan of mirroring. Okay, so here's the difference here. There's a difference between a cognitive anchor and a financial anchor. So when plaintiff's counsel describes the award using adjectives, right? That's a cognitive anchor. There's no number, but they're tipping you off, hey, here's what's coming. I believe you should mirror that and say, we are going to offer in closing a substantially lower and far more, if anything, if you even get there, but just, and then you mirror that effort, right? And then if they give a number in opening, then you give a number in opening, because you don't want to have this this mismatch. But I think some courts and some judges essentially say, I don't want you giving a number in opening, save it for your closing. Other courts, particularly in like California, God, first sentence out of your mouth in opening can be, I want $100 million. I'm going to prove to you why, right? What are your thoughts on that?
So a couple of things, and I want to get your thoughts on it because I think it's going to be interesting. But I think first and foremost, to your point about mirroring, I think is a really good idea, because the other reason too, as you see, is once you have thrown your number out there, you are now committed to your number. So you don't have any flexibility to go back and say, you know what, based upon kind of the case and case
Yeah.
facts and how things are going, you know what?
You may change your anchor. You may change your
Yeah,
counter
you
anchor
can,
based on what you heard.
exactly. And so I think you don't want to do that because you're going to set yourself up to now
Yeah.
you can't go anywhere. You can't change your, and you might want to once you hear how high it is. But I do have a question though, Bill, that I think it's interesting that I want to get your perspectives on though, is talking about anchoring and financial anchoring and cognitive anchoring. If though you put out a number, let's say it's $500,000, now you have jurors already thinking it's okay, this is what their counter anchor is going to be. And then you've already anchored them kind of to what a floor would be, so that when plaintiff comes in and says, I want $100 million, now the jurors are going, because now they've already thought, okay, what we believe it, the defense believes is fair and reasonable is 500,000. Now plaintiff looks unrealistic because they're asking for 100 million. So I can anticipate kind of the pushback probably that someone might give to say, this is why I want to give the number rather than mirror it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The golden rule here, which so many people violate, is you got to test these numbers. Steve, what do we do with jury research? We test we know where the lowballing line is, right? We know why we test it. And you don't know where it's at. You think you know where it's at. Oh, you don't know where it's at. So that $500,000, we've seen that could be highly offensive in some cases.
Yep.
In other cases, jurors are like, yeah, I think that's okay, right? The only way you're going to get there is testing it. Number one. And then number two, another, again, this gets really complex. Listen, this is human behavior and decision making is complicated. Hence why you and I went to college for 10 years to get PhDs to do this. If you're not asking the right voir dire questions to prime them for your counter anchoring efforts, what are you doing? Right? Jurors may not, some jurors may not, those whole like, oh yeah, you're lowballing type of juror. Well, if you don't figure that out, you see my point? So this becomes really, really complex. And without the right voir dire questions, and then you have no data on what number to throw, like how are you making that decision? Oh, 1.2 million sounds good to me. Right? And I think, and I'd love your thoughts on this. I've become, and the plaintiffs bar has done this a lot, and I agree with them. I'm a big fan of the range as opposed to the number, because I think some people can be like, oh, so you're putting a value on, like, oh, you just, like, where are you getting this number? Why is it just a number? Whereas if you come across with the, hey, we trust you to make the right decision. Now, based on our analysis of this case, we think it's kind of within this range. You decide, and you give the jury all the power versus giving them, we think it's worth $500,000. I mean, I think that can work to your detriment, right?
Yeah, and I think even that in and of itself is a little bit complex too,
It is.
because as we know, is you need to make sure your counter anchor is actually tied to something logically.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. I do like the ranges, I do like it, but I think you have to be able to tie it back to something tangible.
Just
versus saying,
because,
hey,
yeah.
yeah, we think it's 300,000 to 400,000. Well, why? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just because.
Here's why this is fair. Here's why
Right.
this is reasonable. And here's why this is going to make this person whole, right? And I think if you can outduel the other side on that, it's gonna make more sense. But again, that discussion has to happen in jury selection. So when they hear it, there's no, geez, what are these guys doing, right? They're well prepared for it. They know what's coming. There's no push.
But I think though that's one thing that we haven't seen enough of though is tying it back and giving a number that's tied to logic and reason. Because if you want to talk about what's fair and reasonable, and you want to talk about being rational and logical versus the kind of just throw out a big number, you have to tie it to something so you look rational, you look reasonable, so you can go back to say, look, we've given you the numbers, we've given you this, we've given you the reason why we believe it's this, versus this kind of, hey, we think it's worth, pain and suffering is worth $10 a day for the next 70 years.
Yeah.
Well, where did you come up with $10 a day
for
the next 70 years?
That's what they do on those commercials. It only costs you 39 cents a day to make a difference in something, right? And then you're like, wow, 39 cents.
Yeah.
But then you start doing the math over the year, right? they don't they don't go to the full sum there, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Question 5 of 6 here. I think this is an important one. How much does case selection impact nuclear verdicts? No one talks about this. Like, you read all these nuclear verdicts. What's the first thing that goes to your mind, Steve? Why in the world is this case in front of a jury?
Right.
What were you thinking? What? You picked the worst case you have and you took that one to trial? Oh my God. Yeah, it's like you got to know, again, Kenny Rogers, right? You got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away. Steve, you got to know when to run. And you see some of these cases and you're going, why in the world? Hey, so 2 questions, right? Hey, number 1, why in the world did you pick the shittiest case you have to take to trial? That's a loser, number 1. And then number 2, which it just baffles the mind. You didn't do any jury research? That's potentially the worst combination. In fact, and then you get on LinkedIn. Now I'm going on my rant right now. Here we go, Steve. Then you go on LinkedIn and go, these jurors are crazy. This is out of control. We need tort reform. And I'm thinking, well, look what you just did. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I'm going to lose my damn mind.
Well, I think
blame the jury. Yeah, blame the jury. Oh, these jurors are crazy. They've lost their mind. Have they? I'm not so sure.
You have a case with a catastrophic injury to a child and then you go through and let's say let's throw a trucking case out there. Then you go through and then you look at the history and training of the driver. You look at all these. And
he was on meth at the time.
Yeah. But I mean, it's okay though. I mean, it was just a little.
You get around that one.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I think that's the value, though. That's the value of the jury research too. I think as you go and you test it, and you're like, "This is a nuclear verdict waiting to." How many times have you and I said, "This is a nuclear verdict waiting to happen"?
Yeah, this is not good. Or this is one like you really need to admit liability. Like there's no way around that. Like that's the whole purpose of the jury research. Now, on the other hand, we do lots of jury research where at the end we're like, okay, this is a case we do want to try.
Yeah.
Okay? Because statistically, we know we got a lot of people on our side or we're probably going to lose, but we know jurors don't want to make this one a lottery ticket because the plaintiff has some key. You need to do the research to make those decisions. The problem is a lot of these decisions are being made very hastily and gut feelings and hunches. And it's just not a good way to do things. Happens all the time.
But I think sometimes you have to be honest with yourself too, is after you go through like a focus group or a mock trial and you get really, really bad results that you yourself thought the case was really strong. And then you hear from jurors that it's not. Yeah. You need to step back and then reassess to say, okay, maybe we thought this was defensible, but you know what? Now that we think all these things come to life, we hear the plaintiff's side, we hear the arguments, we hear how that resonates.
Steve, now I've always said, the truth is always messy. And they don't want to hear it. And listen, I get it. Attorneys, you have this case, you've been working your ass on it for 3 years. You have a lot of strong cognitive and emotional thoughts and attachments and emotions into this case. And then you do the jury research and you get your ass handed to you. And then you start fighting with the mock jurors. So after the nuclear verdicts, all these jurors are crazy. Then they're saying to us, you got the wrong jurors here. This is impossible. And they start arguing with us. You've seen it.
Yeah.
They start blaming us. Because you have a bad case. You just don't like the results. Wake up call.
But I think the other thing too is in the defense bar that we always talk about is that they need to try more cases. But I think it still goes back to you need to be realistic of what you should try. And absolutely, you and I are strong proponents of, hey, let's go to trial on this. Let's not settle.
Yeah.
But there's also the flip side of it too. So I think just being realistic of yes, we think you should try, and we fully appreciate and want you to try these cases. But then there's a subset that you just need to stay away from.
Yeah. And you got to do the homework. But again, if you don't want to spend the money and put in the time and do this the right way, you're going to make terrible decisions. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have clients that have figured this out.
We have great clients. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. But then we still get some phone calls and then I don't know if I really want to. I'm like, the demand is $75 million and we're arguing about jury research, whether or not to, are you crazy? That's insane. That's insane. Oh God, I think my heart rate just went up. I'm getting a workout during this freaking podcast. Speaking of workout, I think you're going to go on a rant on this last one. Question number 6. This is, and man, this gets updated like by the day.
Hey,
Because I follow all this on social media. What are the updates on? I did a podcast on this. What are the updates on how the plaintiff's bar is using social media to change and improve their ambulance chasing stigma? Now, again, historically, 2 areas here, right? Billboards and TV commercials that are beyond cheesy. Beyond cheese. I mean, the billboards, I still laugh at them. Some of them are pretty creative, right? Like the whole Morgan & Morgan size matters. I'm like, hey, very well played, Morgan & Morgan. But most of these, right, it's a picture of this attorney, right? His teeth are painted bright white. Call Joe at 1-800, right? And then the stupid number they have that spells out something idiotic, right? And you see these up and down the interstate. Like, that's the traditional way. And then the TV commercials, Steve, are so, they have them here in Orlando. I'm not going to tell you a law firm. It's not Morgan & Morgan. It's a different guy. And it's the same commercial. And Steve, it's so bad. It's so bad. They have so they put on this couple, right? One of them, like, she has 3 teeth. He has a mullet. And they're like, Joe the attorney got us $300,000 after a truck, plowed in the back of us. And you're just sitting there going, oh my God, she's wearing a muumuu. He's wearing a NASCAR shirt. And you're going, oh my God, right? But that's historically been how it is. However, and I look at this stuff daily, speaking of the algorithm, particularly on TikTok, there's a lot on X, but TikTok's so visual, is like every plaintiff firm in the world has gone TikTok and they're putting out videos to completely change their image for them to come across. We're not ambulance chasers, like, we're here to help you. And I gotta tell you, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate. The hate mail is gonna come in after me. I think they've done an exceptional job at changing public perception. I think many of the TikToks I've seen that have come from plaintiff firms have been highly educational. I think they're coming across as good human beings. I think they're getting rid of those stigmas from the billboards and the TV commercials that are cheesy as hell. I think many of these, some of them are very educational, right? Like, here's how the legal process works, right? They explain discovery, or they explain, like, here's what not to do if you get, like, here's what not to do. It's very educational. And I'm like, damn. And they come across really, really well. The other ones, I've sent several, I sent you some of these are hilarious. I mean, absolutely, like, I'm belly laughing at these things. God, that was damn good. And if you're in the public and you're watching these, right, I think it's naturally going to change the perception. What are your thoughts on the plaintiffs' bar using social media to change their image with the general public?
Well, first, they've done a really good job. I'll say that
they have,
because you can see the reactions that people have to it. Because if you go to the comments section and you look, you'll see, like, best lawyer I've ever had. If I ever got sued, or if I ever had to sue, I'd want to hire him. So I think they've done a really good job of kind of normalizing what they do, normalizing their roles, normalizing litigation. The whole idea of the tort reform going back, where all these frivolous lawsuits and that people will sue over anything. that's kind of gone out the window where people now say, okay, there's a lot of merit to a lot of these cases. And I think one of the other things I've seen that's really frustrated me that I told you about is they'll call out certain, either it's the insurance industry,
Oh,
it's
it's
the
they are
trucking industry.
crushing right for this, not just the industry, Steve. Now, many of these videos, they'll say, now, here's what the insurance company does, and we're gonna make sure you don't get screwed by them. That's a big theme. Some of these guys are like pointing like Allstate, Progressive, State Farm, and just wailing on these specific insurance companies over and over and over again. And so you combine that with kind of the general frustrations that society has with insurance companies. Ouch.
Yeah. And the one you sent me, I won't name the client or the company, but they call them out specifically
Yeah,
in the video, right?
yeah.
And just dump on them in the video. So once again, you're getting it out there. So you're starting to create these negative perceptions of very specific defendants when you're doing it as well. And all of it is really one-sided, of course. If you they all sound like complaints, right? We
Yeah.
all know when we read complaints, you hear all the nasty bad things and you don't have an opportunity to hear the defense side. So now you're just inundating with this very like, look at this company, they're really, really bad. Look how they treat their employees, bad, 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 without the ability for those companies to kind of put out a different message to say, look, there's two sides to both stories. So really all you're getting is the one side. And the defense bar or the insurance companies or the trucking companies haven't really done a lot to counteract that.
Almost zero. Now, I did send you the picture. I could not figure out which state that was in. I think it was Louisiana. There was a billboard I sent you that he said sends the message was about lawsuit abuse, right? By plaintiffs. Other than that, I mean, there's no like counter message here. This is a massive PR problem for not just the defense bar, it's more of the insurance industry.
Yeah.
Not now, I know I can't say anything because I'm taking part in some of this that'll probably come out in the fall. There are some efforts but very new and they're very slow efforts from more of a PR campaign to educate the general public. So again, so the stigma that the plaintiff's bar faces is the whole ambulance chasing thing, right? And they're trying to get away from that, right? These are greedy ambulance chasers, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of the stigma, right? And they don't want that, so they're working to it. The problem is the insurance industry. It's not the defense bar. The defense bar doesn't have a stigma. The insurance industry has a stigma. And we all know what that is, right? Is that they screw everybody out. You pay these high premiums, and then when something bad happens, they don't cover you, or they cover half of it. Oh, trust me, I've been through that, right? And there's no work being done to address that stigma. And so, time goes by and then you get jurors showing up for jury duty. Do you blame them for feeling the way they feel?
Yeah. No. And I think when you and I talked the other day about, I'm curious about how all of this beating up on the insurance industry isn't somehow circumventing the whole idea. Is when you get to trial, you can't talk about insurance. But
Yeah,
you and I talk with jurors on a daily basis. How often do they bring up insurance?
every
All
time,
the time.
every
And
single
we have to
time.
be like, you can't consider that. You can't consider that. But they all know about insurance. They all know that there's probably an insurance company tied to that. And I got to think some of it comes from these advertisements that it's just dumping on the insurance companies. So I'm curious about how and maybe it's a coordinated effort
Yeah.
that's been done to do that, to circumvent bringing up insurance. So you bring it up in the social media space. By that time, you've harped on it. You don't need to say anything at trial and you don't have to worry about it. But it's already in jurors' minds that they know that there's probably an insurance company tied to it. So then everybody is upset with the insurance company. So why not give a big verdict? Because ultimately it's not the company's money. It's going to be from the insurance company.
Yeah. And then you had this CEO that got murdered in Manhattan earlier in the year. And then, when data comes out about, oh, wow, the CEO of this insurance company makes $35 million a year, that rubs people the wrong way, dude.
Yeah.
Or look at their profits, look at their stock price. And then, your roof leaks and they go, nah, we're not covering that. Well, yeah, I mean, what do you expect people to? So this is a big problem. This
Yeah.
is a big,
But
big problem.
it all goes back to smart advertising on the plaintiff's side.
Yeah.
One other thing we didn't even talk about that you and I are addicted to is watching depositions online.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Let's finish with this because it's a treasure trove of yeah. Just go to what YouTube and just type in deposition, bad deposition, med mal trucking deposition, construction deposition, police brutality deposition. Just pick your deposition, and it's going to be an endless stream. Which you know, unless something's sealed, I guess it's public record. Many people are shocked to know that. I know, like during speeches and witness training, a lot of people in the well, do you have permission to show that dep? I'm like, screw you, no. This is on this is on YouTube. I don't need permission for anybody to show you. No, I mean, you just go look it up right now. And people are like, wait, that's on the internet, and there are many plaintiffs firms that not only do they have their YouTube channel where they're putting this on, they put it on their own
yeah.
website of, hey, here's 3 minutes of me beating up a corporate rep. That's why you want to hire me as your plaintiff attorney. And they put the deposition on the website. Now, is this ethical? I think that's probably debatable. Is it legal? Obviously, right? But this is something that, yeah, tell us your thoughts about that.
Well, I think, it's a little bit of solicitation as well, I think, to what you just said. That's
Mhm.
why I don't know how ethical it is, but that's what it is watch how I dismantle
Yeah,
this witness in a deposition. And then once again, go to the comments. This attorney is great. I would love to have them. Always a consummate professional. And then what you always see on the flip side is the witness always gets dumped on. So like it's going up
oh,
there and nobody ever really sees.
it's not
And
the
maybe
good
it's because,
ones.
yeah, maybe it's because the depositions suck.
There's no
Um,
good ones.
so they always are like, yeah, that this person is terrible. What a terrible physician. Oh, this guy gives me the creeps. So once again, just inundating and having all these people interact on social media, just further putting in their minds about the perceptions of plaintiff attorneys are doing a good job. They're fighters for injustice for the little
Yeah.
guy, and all these people that are on the other side are the bad guys.
Yeah. Now, funny enough, when you, and then we'll end on this. So if you go to YouTube and you're looking up, these types of what inevitably comes up, and you're gonna laugh your ass off when I say this, is these deposition training
Oh yeah,
videos. Oh, these are hilarious. How to be a good deponent. Oh
yeah.
my God. Oh my God. Are they so bad? So bad. Oh, they're so bad. They're just so bad and just flat out wrong. You ever watch a couple of those? Oh,
I I
they're
usually get
hilarious.
through. I usually get through a little bit just because I'm curious, and then I have to shut it off because I get frustrated.
It's really, really frustrating because the advice is so bad. It's so bad. So I do tell, I know that you tell your witnesses during witness training. I'm like, don't be, because some witnesses do say, okay, because they're invested. We work with a lot of witnesses that want to be better, and
Yeah,
they say, what can I do? Because we'll be like, okay, now your job in between, review the documents given to you by counsel, whatever. Like, well, is there any other materials? Is there a book I could read? Are there videos online? And you and I are like, no, 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 no. Because number one, that's discoverable. But could you imagine if the witnesses went to one of these sites and, oh,
Ugh,
disaster,
train wreck.
absolute disaster. So, okay, this is a really good episode, really good questions. Steve, thanks for coming on. Dog days of summer. Um, and then I think we all just desperately need college football, is the way I pretty much am seeing it.
Yeah, I think that can't come soon enough. The days of just blocking out all of a Saturday and watching from roughly 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. sounds like a good distraction from work.
Yeah. Okay. Before we leave, how about this? How about this? Because now this will probably post in August, right? So we're going to be pushing towards October here, and in the blink of an eye. Um, let's get our World Series picks in right now because we're right about the midway point, right? All-Star game break. Got trade deadline coming up. Give me your two World Series teams right now at the break. I know it's completely unfair, but
This is completely unfair.
this is kind of tough. This is kind of tough. I can tell you who's not going to be there. Is going to be which is the New York Yankees. They
Actually, I
just
can't use the Yankees.
no, they can't. They're not going to get it together. Somehow they did it last year. I just don't see it. Theoretically, they can, but from the American League, I just my faith in the Yankees is just not there. Who do you think American League?
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, the Astros have tend to always look good.
I got to agree.
And it pains me to say that. And I'm going to
Pains me
get
to
all
say
this
that
heat.
too, but I think the Astros, who by the way should be a National League team, whole different debate because they were a National League team. But that's where I'd be leaning right now based on the organization, the talent, and just the consistency of that organization. I think in the National League it's interesting, and I think the key question is, can my Cubs or
Yeah.
even the Mets? Or yeah, do the Padres? Can somebody knock off the Dodgers? The Dodgers are just a powerhouse.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I'd like to see the Cubs. The Cubs are playing well, but the
They're young and
Dodgers,
on fire.
yeah.
They could give them a run. I think if they get a pitcher before the trade deadline to load up for the second half of the year here. But I love to see the Cubs sneak in there and upset the Dodgers, just like they did back in 2016. But I think right now, what do you think? Dodgers, Astros.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's
I don't
that's
mind the
where
Dodgers.
that's where my head says. That's what my
Yeah.
head says. My heart would be Cubs, Yankees.
Yeah. Well, are you a type of person, Dr. Kanasky, who thinks with your head or your gut? Going
Well,
back to our Vaudier questions.
well, lately I've been thinking with my brain, not my heart.
Well, then it's
Um,
Yankees, or then it's Astros, Dodgers. Then.
it's probably going to be Astros, Dodgers. But you know what? Everybody likes a good upset, Steve.
Yeah.
Everybody likes a good upset. But yeah, you never know. The Mets have looked great this year. Mets can sneak in there. We'll see. Hey, the Cubs have been very successful this year so far against the Dodgers head to head. So they've shown they can play. I have a little bit more faith in the Cubs than the Mets, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've actually been kind of upset that I haven't been able to send you anti-Cub memes this year.
Because yeah, there's nothing to make fun of yet. Yeah, save that for the Bears. Save that for the Bears.
Oh, I got them loaded up for the Bears. Don't worry. Those all write themselves.
We will talk about that. We'll do an NFL preseason show like we usually do, and we'll talk about that. But Bears got a bear coach, so I'll save it for that. But hey, to our audience, thank you for listening in. Please leave us a review on whatever platform you are listening to or watching. We like reviews. If you hate us, that's fine. That's fine. But if you love us, we want to hear about it as well. Any feedback is good feedback. So yeah, thank you to our audience, and thank you for participating in this edition of the Litigation Psychology Podcast brought to you by Courtroom Sciences. We'll see you next time.